So welcome everyone. This is the James and Steve show. Just kidding, but not kidding at the same time. My name is James Kelly. I am the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer. This is Steve Fetyko.
I serve as President and CEO here for Brio.
Also my manager, so I'm on best behavior during this as well. We're trying a new format to do these where it's a little more conversational between us. Historically, when we've done virtual events, it's two people looking through their own Zoom screens, and we thought this would be a little bit more fun. And quite frankly, Steve and I get along really well, so there's always some little bit of tomfoolery going on as well. So hopefully it's entertaining. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We're trying to keep this to about 45 minutes, an hour max. On your screen, if you wiggle your mouse around, you'll get a little toolbar that pops up on the bottom. You'll see something that says Q&A. That is where you can type in all of your questions. So you're going to type in your questions. We have our friend Natalie, who is behind the camera. Say hi, Natalie.
Hello, I am ready.
All right, and Natalie's going to write down some of the questions. She's going to keep us on track for time, make sure that we're not going on too long, and to make sure we're okay. So again, any questions, concerns, please write that out in the Q&A section of your toolbar. So as we start here, I think we might as well tell them who we are, right? This is Brio Living Services. The first thing I like to tell people about Brio Living Services is we predominantly work with seniors. But Steve and I made a very conscious decision when we named the organization Brio Living Services that we did not say Brio Senior Living Services.
Yeah, and what we don't want to miss is we maintain strong connections to our faith-based roots. We're the combination of two wonderful, long-standing aging services providers in Michigan, United Methodist Retirement Communities and Porter Hills Presbyterian Villages. You can see why we wanted to shorten it to Brio and focus on each community. But we always like to highlight that connection to our faith-based roots because we want to help people age well and experience their faith in the way that is most meaningful to them. And how do we learn to do that? Ask them, right?
My favorite, though, is Steve always calls us Methotarian.
Presbytist.
Presbytist, that's a good one.
but really what we're trying to do is doing all the good we can for all the people we can for as long as we can.
Agreed. So the other reason that we don't call ourselves Brio Senior Living Services is because we also have 1,500 employees.
1,500 team members.
Team members across the state. And so we view our roles as being responsible for the team members as much as we're responsible for our residents or participants or whoever it is that we touch throughout our business.
Yeah, because they bring our mission to life each and every day. So the best way to provide high quality care and services to people who choose to live with us or receive services from us is to take care of the people who take care of them.
Yep. So most of you are here today because you got a mail piece, right, that said, would you want to attend? So that's how you got it. But you're here because that direct mail piece also talked about the flats. And the flats is an expansion that we're doing at Porter Hills Village, where we're building 57 independent living apartments. I said 56 earlier. And we're also totally rebuilding all of assisted living, all of skilled nursing, building also a brand new community center and kind of revamping the campus a little bit to bring us up to date.
And making sure it's all connected with the whole community, as we've gotten a reminder over the last couple weeks, how important it is to be able to traverse the whole community inside in West Michigan in winter.
And not have to step outside. So we're here today to talk about finances. And so a little bit of history is when I started this organization 8 years ago. Yeah. Steve was actually the CFO. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I came to the organization a little over 11 years ago as CFO. Was in that role for about 4 years. My predecessor had a planned retirement, and I, as he retired about 7.5 years ago, was able to step into that role. So we focus on finance not because we're for profit. We're not. We're nonprofit. We're community-based. But we know if we're good stewards of the dollars, we can continue to invest in the experience of the people who choose to live with us, invest in our team members who provide all the care and services that we have across the state, and to make sure we're positioned to reinvest in big replacement projects and big positioning projects like Porter Hills Village project That is literally in the ground. It may be a little covered in snow right now, but the work is well underway to position Porter Hills Village to thrive for the next 50 years, just like it has served Grand Rapids since 1970.
Yep. So now, Steve, you touched on something that we believe is very important, and that is the not-for-profit difference, we call it. And so what does a not-for-profit organization mean to you in this business?
So I actually heard a gentleman speak years ago and agreed with me. He said, why do we tell people we're nonprofit? It's like saying I file jointly married. It's your tax status. And we are tax exempt. We meet the criteria from the IRS, but I like to think of us as community benefit organizations. We exist to benefit the community we are organized to serve. And in our case, it's aging individuals. Fortunately, everybody's aging, so we can broadly define who we serve. But for us, we don't have to pay a dividend to a stockholder. Our constituents, who we are responsible to, as we're guided by a volunteer board of directors, a board of trustees, is the people we serve, the community we serve. So our profit, we need to operate profitably, right? We need to be sustainable. And we've been around for 120 years, so we have a good track record of being sustainable, is we need to make sure we operate in a way we can continue to invest in ourselves, in our buildings, in the experience of the people we serve, and in our team members. We don't have to maximize a dividend check to a shareholder.
So when I was about 25 years old, I worked for Sister Mary Margaret in a retirement community, and she taught me there is no mission without margin. And so, do we make money? Sure, we make a little bit of money, but the difference is, you're right, it goes right back into the organization. We're governed by a volunteer board of trustees.
Volunteer board of trustees under the Michigan Nonprofit Act. If those of you who have a hard time sleeping and want to get a nice reading session in that will put you to sleep immediately, look up the Michigan Nonprofit Act. But in all seriousness, there are all these wonderful rules and regulations meant to ensure that our board of directors have a fiduciary responsibility to operate the organization in the best interest of the people we serve. So it's not just me making a decision. I am accountable to a board of trustees who really determine what direction the organization takes and to make sure we remain financially sustainable in the long run.
So that's awesome. So one of the cool back and forths that Steve and I have is I'm primarily a salesperson. That's what I've done in my career is I've moved thousands of people into retirement communities. You're historically, I would say, a finance guy, right?
And for 25 years before I stepped into this role, so yes.
So, there's some things that Steve and I look at differently. And so one of those would be if you asked me about how is the state of the organization, I would say, we're financially sound. We have a good day's cash on hand, but that's about where it starts to end for me. So Steve, can you give the audience a little bit better understanding of our financials?
So we take our financial sustainability seriously. Having been around for 120 years as an organization, we've experienced and been able to work through not one but two global pandemics, through a global depression, through multiple world wars. So we've carried forward through our institutional leadership and our board members that really North Star of being financially sound, not to hoard dollars, right? These are dollars given to us to provide care and services. So we want to make sure we only charge what's appropriate to provide those. But we also know we have to be good stewards throughout our lifetimes and the future lifetimes of people we hope to serve in the future. So for us, it's getting rigorous, right? We set out intentional targets, and the targets are set not to maximize our financial condition, it's to set an appropriate safety net so that we can navigate through challenging financial times. Last 5-6 years were great examples of that. We had enough wherewithal where the board could make thought out decisions as opposed to knee-jerk reactions to react to plummeting census, increasing costs. We were able to navigate that in a thoughtful manner, invest in our team members, only do reasonable increases in rates that could be sustainable and manageable by the people we serve. So those numbers evolve over time, but we have a set, here's our target for days cash on hand, for our operating profitability, for our leverage position in terms of the amount of debt that we take on. And we get periodic checkups from those outside the organization.
Like Fitch, right?
Fitch, our ratings. So that's that's literally our grade. We get a report card. Fitch comes and their outside entity, they come in and About 25 to 30% of aging services organizations like this, like us, get rated each year. The 2/3 or 70% who don't either aren't strong enough to warrant that or may just have a little different circumstance. But we literally get a letter grade. It's either B, double B, triple B, or A. Those are the only grades you can get. And that tells you where you are. We're at a triple B minus, which means of the top 30%, we're about middle of the pack. So the top 15 to 20% of financial stability. That's what the grade is on. What's your financial stability and your ability to pay all of your bills as they come due both today and for all obligations you have, which we'll talk about entrance fees later, but that's an obligation we have.
Sure. And honestly, I think this is a pretty good time for us to talk about entrance fees. So I can tell you, I've been working in senior living for 35 years. I know I don't look that old, but I am.
He started at 5.
And people always say, you know, Steve, if I stay in my house, I'll have more equity in my home and I'll be able to, you know, have a little bit more money later. And one of the things that I tell people is you save your money your entire life for basically a rainy day to a degree, but there's not always necessarily the cause to move just for the rainy day. The rainy day to me is that you need some type of care, assisted living, skilled nursing, something like that. That's where you really say, I can't live here anymore. And my job is to try to get people to understand that moving to a retired community is actually a really fun experience. But there's some finances that go along with that. And so the first one is an entrance fee. So I can tell you that our entrance fees, they really range all over the gamut from, I would say, $200,000 up to probably $1 million for our 3,000 square foot home.
Yep,
right?
depends on the size of the unit, absolutely.
And so there's that dollar amount that has to be put down. I can tell you that most people fund that entrance fee with the sale of their home. So if your home is worth about $500,000, you would move into a retirement community where the entrance fee is worth about $500,000. If it was a $600,000 entrance fee and you only got $500,000 out of your house, no one wants to pull an extra $100,000 out of their savings. So,
well, especially if that's a main source of income.
oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. And some people count on the sale of their home to be a source of income as they grow older as well. So, Steve, can you talk to me a little bit about how, as an organization, we use the entrance fees? Why do we charge an entrance fee?
Yeah, so in Michigan, the ability to charge an entrance fee is governed by something called the Continuing Care Retirement Act. I might have actually gotten that right, but it's an actual state act. The last time it was updated, 2014. Yes, I am a finance nerd, and yes, I love to talk about this stuff. But because this is your money, this is what you've spent a lifetime accumulating to be able to live the life you want to be able to live. So we have these rules we have to abide by. So we can't even offer an entrance fee unless we're approved by the state. We go through a whole application process, and we have to get renewed every single year. So there is some really strong consumer protections around even offering entrance fees in the state of Michigan that are really great for the consumer. So when we get this entrance fee in, there's really two primary purposes. One is to really help pay for the cost of the building, right? And that means we don't have to incur debt, which means it moderates the cost to operate the building. You don't have to have the principal payments or interest payments on that debt. Or it's to pay for the ongoing
Like capital.
that's required to go into the building. So we don't just collect those dollars, sit on them, they get put to use. Meanwhile, we maintain that obligation to repay you for the refundable portion throughout. And the state's monitoring us to make sure our financial health puts us in a very strong position to refund those dollars. And for us, it's 30 or 60 days after move out, you get your refund.
What is the actual term that the state allows for that refund? Is it a year?
I think it's the state, actually Michigan's one of the most stringent. I think it's up to 90 or 180 days.
Okay.
Some states have no requirement. It's upon resale of the unit. We choose to do it in a shorter time frame because they're your resources, either going to you as you choose to leave, or if you had spent your life with us, and we're so honored to have that, you do that with us, to wherever you designate they go to quickly and not be lingering on 6, 12, 18 months down the road.
So something else, another question that I get a lot, is that when someone moves out of an independent living apartment and moves into assisted living or skilled nursing, it actually cancels the contract in independent living where you get your refund when you leave independent living. So you can
Exactly.
use those resources to help pay for assisted living or skilled nursing. I've worked for organizations where you didn't get that money back until you physically left the community, which means they're holding your entrance fee for the entire time you're in care, as well as whatever you're paying for care. So that's pretty cool that we let that go as well.
Yeah, and because it ultimately is we're being allowed to utilize the dollars for the period of time that you choose to live with us. So let's get it back to you or to whoever you designate those funds, you want those funds to go to.
Sure.
And it was interesting because I had family experience with this.
Mm-hmm.
My parents moved in and I actually counseled them and talked to them when they were both alive. They actually moved into a community, not here.
Yeah.
They lived, I grew up in the Chicago area, but they moved in at 68 and 69 years
Which
old.
is really young.
And I saw firsthand, when you talked about living your life, they had some pretty major medical events happen over the subsequent 12, 14 years that actually they had an easier time navigating because they were in community with others. Perfect example, my dad developed end-stage renal disease, and a group of individuals they got to know living in the community, the continuing care retirement community, life plan community they lived in, created a group where helped drive him to dialysis for 8 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they were so supportive of each other, so connected to each other. So your point of, considering this early, and as you mentioned before, this entrance fee can be that resource that you've set aside should the unthinkable and something that none of us want happen, where you do require some additional assistance, maybe some supportive care and assisted living. My mom went through memory care, through nursing home care. That resource is there available to help support those costs. And you don't have to necessarily have that surprise cost added on to that incredible stress that goes along with transitioning between levels of care.
Well, and here's something that we didn't even talk about. It's so ingrained in us of what we do, which is we're a continuing care retirement community, so a CCRC or a life plan community, they're now called. I guess we're using those terms interchangeably now a little bit.
Well, we like to feel special, just
We'd
like
like to feel
everybody
special,
else.
that's right. And really what that means is that there's independent living, there's assisted living, there's memory care, and there's skilled nursing all on one campus. So like your mom and dad, as we've talked about a lot, moved into the independent living portion of the community.
Yes.
They were young and they made friends and they hung out and had a great social life, but they knew in the back of their mind that one day they're going to need care. And not only did they use the care,
or either, yeah.
yeah, but it was also right there. They never had to move out.
And that's exactly the point. I mean, ideally, living in a community like this, you either delay or prevent needing to move those level of care, because my dad was way more active in that retirement in the community he lived in than if they had stayed in their home.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they had supports, they could walk down the hall for dinner, they could go, we're going to they love going to the theater. Okay, here's our monthly trip to the local theater to see the next musical that's coming out. So for me, as a planner and growing up, I come from a long line of accountants. Our dinner conversations were riveting, I tell you. But we appreciated the ability to plan, right? You plan for the worst and you then go enjoy life, knowing you have the safety net in place. Should those happen, it's not a constant worry, and you can focus on what are the things that are going to enhance my life, allow me to live the life I want to be able to live and embrace, despite whatever limitations may be coming down the road.
So here's a really good topic for you, Steve, and that is when you move into a retirement community, you pay your entrance fee and you pay your monthly service fee. Now, we call it a monthly service fee because if it was rent, that kind of denotes that it's just for where you live. But when you say monthly service fee, it kind of means that it pays for all the services that you get, which there's a lot of services. It's an all-inclusive program. But when you talk about running out of money and inflation and things like that, there's some hot topics for people that are on fixed incomes.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about how we evaluate monthly service fee increases or rate increases? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we keep first and foremost in our heads, and James is at our finance committee meetings, at our board meetings. Our board, when they approve rate increases, recognize this is asking the people who choose to live with us, who by and large on fixed incomes to pay more dollars, right? So we want to be very thoughtful, and we always base it on what's the actual cost, not just our own actual cost, but we look at things like the consumer price index to make sure what we're experiencing isn't an outlier compared to what that national inflationary trend is. And we've all felt inflation the last few years. I mean, there were record Social Security increases, and I would imagine that still didn't go.
Which still weren't that great, for that matter.
Well, they didn't go far enough to cover all the cost increases that everybody had to pay, but we're trying to ground that in the reality of we know our costs go up each and every year. We need to pay people more. We want to retain them, especially folks who are doing a great job. Utility costs go up. The cost of food goes up. All the insurance costs, all these things go up. But our goal is to stay at or below that overall inflationary factor so that we can recognize we're serving people who are operating under a fixed budget.
One of the things that's interesting too is when you talk about, those, I call them the basic utilities, and that's your gas, electric, and insurance. But one of the things that we really need to talk about too is the not-for-profit advantage for our team members. A not-for-profit typically pays team members a little bit better salary. We typically have better benefits. We have better staff longevity. We also have happier team members. And so what that means is, someone's not worried about, are they going to get, sent home this week because there's not enough people living on their care floor. As a not-for-profit organization, we view them as we're as responsible for them as they are taking their job as responsibly for us. And so it's our job my job, it's not even your job, it's my job to make sure that people move in so that those people have jobs, but they're not worried about losing their job because we don't have enough people to move in, and they're taken care of, they're well paid, they have good benefits. It's not unusual for people to work here for 30 years.
Well, and you're exactly right, James. We want to be very competitive. We have to be good stewards of the dollars too. And one of the ways we're really good stewards of the dollars is we have people leave and then come back. Because what they also recognize is we keep an eye on staffing levels to make it sure it's the appropriate number of hours per person we serve. And we do better than most.
Sure.
Meaning a resident care assistant in assisted living here would have fewer residents to take care of than in potentially one of our for-profit colleague organizations. So we want to make sure that people have good balance, can spend the time doing their job well, as opposed to just running through a checklist. And don't take our words for it, just like our financial checkup, we get quality checkups. The state loves to come in, especially in nursing homes and our assisted living, and do surveys. And we're always in the top 20% in the quality indicators, the quality outcomes. So that's something we want to balance. Good financial stewards, but just as importantly, good stewards of quality care and services.
Oh, Natalie's got a question for us, which you all can't see her raise her hand. Go ahead, Natalie.
Yep, there is a pertinent question, I think, to this subject. A great question from an attendee. How do you measure team member satisfaction?
Oh, that's a great question.
That is a really good question.
So there's many terms used. What we use is, what's used in the industry right now is engagement. So which encompasses satisfaction, but also how fulfilled people feel by the work that they do. So we do an annual, it's through
Hollering. Right?
Holleran's for our residents.
Oh,
This
that's
is
right.
through Best and Brightest.
Best and Brightest, that's right.
Had to go back in the memory bank and access that memory there.
At least you got the right one.
I know, yeah. Great places to work. And we do that annual survey, and we have to have, I think, at least 50 or 60% of our total workforce respond to that. So we're not cherry picking, hey, let's just pick the people we know are going to score as well. And we get that in the last 3 years in a row. Not only were we designated a Best and Brightest, we're actually 101 Best and Brightest in the country. And that's coming directly from a majority of our team members actually going through. And having said that, that's great, right? But we also have a commitment to continually improve. So we like to take what we learn, and it's going to be different based on what department teams people work in, what communities they may work in, and we can get pretty granular. So the environmental services team at CRC may say, here's our 2 biggest areas of opportunity. So we like to take that feedback, because for any of you, well, I imagine many of you have led organizations and been in leadership roles, the best way to anger your workforce is to ask for their feedback and do nothing with it. So we want to make sure we actually take this information, they take time to provide to us, and create action plans. We can't do everything, right? If you create a list of 25 things to do great, you're not going to do any of them well. So at least take the first 2 to 3, create a work plan, execute on them. When those are going well, pick the next 2 or 3. But we have to start with direct feedback from the team members telling us, what can we do better to help support them executing the mission you see on the wall behind us.
Yep. Natalie, do you have any other questions? Because I had something I wanted to bring up with Steve too. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Steve, is as a not-for-profit organization, another thing that really sets us apart is our benevolent care program. And so I tell people, I can tell you personally, every paycheck I put money into the benevolent care program. And the benevolent care program is designed for residents that live with us that were financially approved when they move into the community. They've outlived their assets. They've spent a little bit more, probably most likely they lived a little bit longer than what they thought they would. Mm-hmm. And so their assets didn't go as far. And the benevolent care program is to make sure they're taken care of. Where does the money come from for the benevolent care program, other than me giving some money, but my little money is not doing it?
Well, it's from thousands of people over dozens, if not, at this case, over 100 years, if we stretch far enough back in our history. And I do the same thing, James. Because as you mentioned, people come in, they qualify, they live here, but the typical person who ends up benefiting from benevolent care is usually early to mid-90s, never expected to have to experience higher care and support needs. Mm-hmm. And that's costly.
For as long as that is.
For as long as they did. And it is costly. I mean, if you've ever helped a loved one, either experienced for yourself or helped a loved one, I went through this with my parents, it's high quality care and support is not inexpensive. No. So we've had donors over the years, and right now, gosh, I wish I could put my finger on the number, but it's probably $30 to $35 million over time that's been accumulated, treated as an endowment. We still have more to go, so we want to continue to build that, but that's our main funding source, and we've had incredibly generous foundations and individuals over time help us establish this as that safety net, because what we know, when do you run out of money? When you're at your most vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And that is the absolute worst time to put people through the traumatic experience of moving out of community. Mm-hmm. So you move in, we go through the qualification, we sign the agreement, and we say, handshake deal, we're committing to each other. And this benevolent care fund allows us to uphold that, to ensure that through no fault of their own, when somebody exhausts their resources, we have that safety net to keep them in the place they want to call home.
Oh, that's great. Agreed. And a lot of people, that gives them a sense of security that they may not have moving into a for-profit organization or an organization that's not as mature as us, since we're well over 100 years old.
We look pretty good for 120.
Well, I don't have hair, but that is definitely a factor that people look at when they're choosing retirement communities is, if I run out of money, what am I going to do? And so,
well, it's interesting, when my parents were looking for a community for them to move into in the Chicagoland area, that was my one insistent. You have to find one that has a benevolent care program. Mm-hmm. There were not a whole lot.
No, it's something that's very difficult for an organization to make that promise to folks. And I can say I'm really proud at working for this organization that we do that, and we put our money where our mouth is too, that we really do take care of folks.
And we've had incredible support from literally thousands, tens of thousands of individuals who've seen fit to invest their hard-earned dollars to provide that safety net for the people that we serve.
Agreed. So Natalie, we're hitting about 1:35 almost. I want to make sure that we're getting the questions that people are asking out there. Have you got anything good for us?
I do have a couple in relation to entrance fees that maybe were touched on but not covered fully.
Okay.
One being, what determines the costs of different entry fees?
Oh, so James and I have a long history on this one. I'm just smiling because it's like, just tell me the numbers, Steve. I don't care what. So we generally, we generally have landed on a 50% refundable option and a 90% refundable option. And we actually price them so it literally makes no difference to us. We didn't want to have to try to influence one way or another. It's to give two options so somebody moving in has a choice, which makes more sense to you. Some folks may have more liquid assets that they feel better placing into a higher refundable entrance fee, while others may say, I don't want to take dollars out. Those are generating my income, so I want a lower entrance fee. So it's really, for us, it makes no difference in the long run. We intentionally priced them so that on average, it's the same either way.
Yeah, and from a marketing standpoint, we really look at local home values.
Yeah.
So 2 points to that one. One, the local home value in the Cascade market is well above our entrance fees, and we're still competitive in the market. But we don't feel like we need to charge an arm and a leg for that, because we're watching our finances. We're making sure that we're a good value proposition for people that are looking for retirement communities. Are we charging the right amount? Are we providing the right services? And so people don't feel like they're getting raked over the coals, and we feel like we're getting paid a reasonable monthly service fee or fees for the care that we're giving. And that's been a good balance for us, and it's put us in a really good spot in the market for what we charge.
Well, and it helped that we had our predecessors who, especially in the Grand Rapids area, who created Port Hills Village, created Cook Valley Estates, really did a good job creating a community, like with the building, making a really sustainable building. So we could have the freedom to not have to be as aggressive in setting entrance fees, to be more appropriate and more accessible for a wider variety of people.
Yeah.
It's still a substantial investment.
It is.
Don't get me wrong.
Yep. And for most people, it's the last major decision they're going to make in their life. And we don't take that lightly. So we make sure that we walk through everyone with the process and make sure that they're comfortable with what they're doing. So I always make the joke, Steve, that if we talk you into it and you don't like it, we see you every day.
Yeah.
If you're unhappy, we see you every day. So.
Well, and that's one of the great things about what we do, right? We're invited to be part of people's lives when they choose to age or live in one of our communities and services. We have to remind ourselves constantly, we're guests in your home when we come to stop in and check in on your community. But it's also a great way to realize how much of life there is left to live. Regardless of your age, it is really a mindset.
Sure.
I recall you probably recall the gentleman over at Silver Maples at 103, living independently, hosting happy hour every Friday, happily hosting happy hour every Friday. So that's something I think that's why we have long-standing team members who don't want to work anywhere else, because they get to be part of people's lives who choose to live with us.
That's exactly right. And so for the audience that's at home, this entrance fee question, fees are probably one of the hardest things for us to try to.
Oh, it's real money.
But it's a hard concept for folks to really try to get their arms around. And so if you have questions about entrance fees, and we were talking about refundable entrance fees and those kinds of things, we really advise you to try to talk with someone at the sales team, because it's their job to sit with you and walk through how to explain the fees and what do they mean and all those types of things. So I advise you to help.
I've seen some of the really good budget tools to really walk through your entire budget.
Oh, yes.
Look, this is
what are you paying at home?
I come from a long line of accountants. I'm married to an accountant. Budgets are like, hey, we got the monthly PowerPoint on the state of the Fetyko Finance Department. But it's a really great way for you to get comfortable, to understand it's a sustainable way to spend your hard-earned resources that you've spent a lifetime accumulating. So that, it's an open book, right? Let's be transparent. Let's think about what are all the costs you incur living on your own, compare it here, and allow you to think also about what does this mean for how you live your life, where you're spending your time.
You used a really good word there, Steve, and that's transparency. And I always feel like I'm harping on this not-for-profit advantage, but truthfully, it really does make a big difference. And one of the things that we have to do as a not-for-profit organization is we have to give anyone that gives us a deposit, we have to give them a disclosure statement. And this disclosure statement, although I have read most of it, Steve.
I've read it all. I might have written it.
You actually, I think you did.
Okay, I
write it.
didn't actually write it. We had an attorney do that. We need to make sure it's appropriate.
But you had a lot of input. And in the back of the disclosure statement is the year's financial report, right? The previous year's
Yes.
financial report.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're concerned about finances of an organization, especially not-for-profit, you can ask for a disclosure statement. All not-for-profits, retirement communities should be giving you one. You get one with us. You can flip through it. You can share it with your financial planner, whatever it may be. And if you have any questions, we try to walk through your questions with you and that kind of thing. But that's another big distinction.
Well, and we go farther than that. So we actually publicly post quarterly
that's right.
our financial statements. And I believe on the website, we actually have some links to those, so you can always reach out to find out. But we do a quarterly interim disclosure on our financial health. Our finance team does a great job. There's a nice narrative. Again, if you have trouble sleeping and need a sleep aid, I highly recommend reading our financial statements. But they do have some great information. We show the quarterly and then the year-end audited financials as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think one of the things we've heard a lot of questions about is because we've seen news stories, what happens if you go bankrupt? Because there have been news stories about organizations, I would not say like us.
Yeah, they were different than
They
us.
work in the same space.
Yeah.
Going bankrupt, and that puts some of these deposits, these entrance fees, at risk. And, if it's okay, James, cut me off when I go too far afield here. But one of the things you should look at is when you look at somebody's financials, what does their total assets look like compared to their total liabilities?
Mm-hmm.
You want their total assets to be more than their total liabilities. And I'm really not trying to be facetious here, but some organizations, they're in a net deficit position. We are not.
Yeah, if you
We
borrowed more money than you have.
We have
Yeah.
over $100 million more in assets than we have in liabilities. Now, a lot of times that's tied up in the building, right?
Sure.
So it's not like, well, we're gonna just go sell off part of the building and raise the funds. But if that balance, more assets than liabilities, so if you think the worst case scenario, the organization's bankrupt and going out of business, well, they can be sold and pay off all of their debts, all of their liabilities, all of their responsibilities. The good news is we've been around for 120 years, we've had challenges, we've never had to default on any loan, never missed a payment on anything, never even sniffed that. But when you see a news story out there like, here's 50 residents who only got half of their entrance fee refund back, you should be asking that question.
Agreed. And again, that's in the disclosure statement. And our finances are an open book, very transparent, as you had said. So.
Yeah, that is a very common question. And I feel bad for whoever's in this when I move into one of our communities and I'm asking these questions.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be asking the clockmaker how to build the clock.
Yeah, there you go.
So Natalie, just doing a little temp check here. Is there any other questions that have come through to make sure that we're getting the audience's questions answered?
I think a good one to touch on is actually about this particular Porter Hills Village expansion specifically. And how do our folks know that this expansion will be happening 100%?
So
Or it's already happening.
well, and it's a great question, right? I mean, this was a long time in the planning, and it took us a while, but we landed on a plan that I think makes us stronger in the long run, which isn't always the case when part of the project is replacing an existing building.
Correct.
That served us well.
That's actually the hardest part of the whole thing, is replacing something.
Yeah, as we
Adding
like to
it
say,
up.
repositioning. We're gonna have the same number, if not slightly more, people living in assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing. But as it turns out, to renovate a 55-year-old building gets a little difficult, which is why we ultimately landed on building this new building. But Natalie, to get back to your question, the two best evidence that I can think of to say this absolutely is happening is we have a signed construction contract and we've borrowed the money.
Check.
Check. And the work's undergoing. Despite the weather, they can do a lot of cool things with heaters and tents over some of the groundwork that we're doing here. But we're actually a good 9 months into the work. So we've done a lot of the utility work, a lot of the road work, a lot of the parking work. So while we may have publicly announced and gaining more interest in this, we're actually well on our way, and at this point, under 2 years from opening. Just under 2 years from opening.
And the other thing is too, is most of you may or may not know, I guess, on this event here, is that we are taking deposits for the 57, I almost said 56 again,
We got a
57.
bonus one for you, James.
Where am I getting 56 from? We have a campus that has 56 houses. I
Yes,
think.
there is.
Okay.
You're at it.
So, all right, so 57, and we're taking deposits for them. These are interest deposits, so this is saying, you know what, I kind of like the concept of doing this, I like what's going on, I want to hear more about this, and by the way, when I hear more, I want to be able to be at the top of the list. And so right now, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 deposits. Now, keep in mind, there's 57 apartments, 70 deposits. Not everyone's going to move forward, but
Or
what
at
we're-
least not yet, right? Because
yet.
not everybody is at the point in their life they're ready to make that
That's
decision.
correct. And, you know, we're not arrogant enough to think that, oh, 70 people gave us a little bit of money, 70 people are going to move in. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And so that's what this deposit does, though. It gives you all that information, lets you hear our meetings, see the progress, and say, is this something I want to be part of or not? And they have the ability, actually, you can pull out your money at any point in time and it's 100% refundable.
Yeah,
So
which
that's really
my
cool.
in-laws did that. It only took them 5 times getting called to finally move in.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, here, actually, that's another really good topic is when, under traditional circumstances, when an apartment opens up at one of our communities, I like to say that you're on our timeline. And that means it's open, you have to come and look at it within a certain number of days, or we move to the next person. Because again, it comes down to financial responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to come and look at it, you have to say that you want it, and then you have to deposit on it, and then you have to move in with a certain period of time. And so that call could come out of the blue and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, do you want to come look at this apartment? And it could be February 1st, and it might be March 31st when March has 31 days?
Yes, it
Oh,
does.
thank you,
I
okay.
had to do the finger thing.
I had to do that earlier today. September did not have 31 days. And so we'd say, hey, you have to move in. And Mrs. Jones would go, that's 60 days. 60 days, I got to sell my house. I got to get my downsizing done. I've got to, you know, move into a new community. It's a lot. And that's what I mean by you're on our timeline. What I love about projects like the flats and even the ravines that we just finished is our shooting for late fall of 27 to open. So what that means is you're going to have at least 6 months. We will give you at least 6 months to say, this is the date we think your apartment is going to be done. Why don't we start working on this process now? And so you have the time to be able to do that if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot to go through, a lifetime's
It's a
worth
lot.
of, okay, how can I get from where I am today to get to where you are there? But it's also the perfect time to start to experience what could life be like, right? With fewer headaches of home ownership, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the fridge broke and I need a new one. Okay, well, when do you want us to deliver that? Let's coordinate when we're gonna show up with the new refrigerator or the new dishwasher. Or, oh, you know what? It's 6 inches of snow again tonight. Or no, I'm not saying that, it won't be tonight. But I don't wanna drive somewhere. Well, we can just walk down the hall, take the elevator, walk down the hall, and have a wonderful chef prepared dinner.
And never even put a jacket on. That's my favorite part about living in a retirement community is when you live in the apartments, you never even have to put a jacket on. You can just walk around
Yeah.
all day. I've seen residents even wearing shorts all year round. And you kind of, it's usually
Well, it's
men.
probably Winston.
Yeah, it's usually men. And, you know, they say, why not? I'm comfortable in shorts and I don't go outside that often. When I do, I put pants on then. And
Yeah.
so, I love that we have people that just live their best life with us.
Yeah, so that was about the longest answer to how do we know this is gonna happen?
Yeah.
So we did get there. We are absolutely 100% committed because it's the right thing to do for a 55-year-old community that served Grand Rapids incredibly well. We feel honored to be able to make that investment, and it actually makes the organization stronger in the long run. And we signed the contract and we have the borrowing in place. And for any of you other math or finance nerds out there, we were able to take advantage of good timing in the market and have interest rates 1.2% below what we had forecast.
Oh, that's
Which
great.
means we're spending a little less on interest than we had originally anticipated.
Oh, that's great.
With a signed gross price maximum contract,
Oh,
which means we have those fixed and in place. Now we just got to finish building it, and as we look out the window, it's a good thing we have local contractors who are used to building things in a West Michigan winter.
Natalie, any other questions over there?
We have covered every question as of right now, so folks, if you're out there, you do have any more questions, be sure to get them in the Q&A. We should tell people also, if they are interested in moving before this expansion, if there's availability now for them, what should they do?
Oh, that's a great question. So if late fall of 2027 is too far away for you, you can talk with one of the sales counselors now, and they can talk to you about apartments at Porter Hills Village and also Cook Valley Estates. If they become open during this time, you could go on both waiting lists. So you could put your name in the hat for the flats, and you could put your name in the hat for either the Village or Cook Valley Estates, and we could get you in there, when something becomes available. Now, that's not always super fast at this point. We do have a wait list for both. But if you have a desire or a need to move faster, we do try to work with you as much as possible too. So, Steve, we're getting close to the end here. I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. Steve and I really love to tell dad jokes and mess around with each other. And I think what you see, and this is a common theme throughout our organization, is that you always use the term caring people, caring for people. And this is an example of we're two caring individuals that work for this organization that really care about what we do. We love the fact that we change and help people's lives. And, this gives us an audience of 70-some people that we would not normally get to.
Yeah.
And I love the financial portion of your answers because I'm just not as well versed in that as you are. And so just really appreciate your time doing this with us.
And the same goes. I think hopefully what folks get a sense of is we do take our work very, very seriously. Like our job is to help support people age the way they want to. We just don't take ourselves very seriously because we are part of people's lives. So let's have some fun while we're doing this, right?
So just a reminder, with the sales team is ready to talk to you at any point in time. There's multiple people that you can talk to for different levels of care and whatever it may be. We're always here to talk with you. So let us know if you need anything. All right, so Natalie, I think with that, we're going to bid adieu.
Yes, you gentlemen did a great job with all of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks so much. Stay warm and stay safe.